It is quite a common phrase to ask your parents, Baba Fulani bought land, Mama so-and-so has rental properties. Where were you? Ulikuwa wapi? And it has become so common without even us understanding that if we are not careful, in the next 5 or 10 years, our kids are going to ask us the same thing. Most people do not understand how systems work. They do not understand what is structure in business or jobs that people are already doing. And the reason as to why, let me take you a little bit back as a personal story. I was born into a family whereby people are business men and women. Like for my mom, she used to be a greengrocer, and at the same time she used to be a fishmonger. All these are businesses that even today some people keep on doing them. You might find that your dad is working in a let's say a certain company, doing a certain job, and he ends up opening a certain business in the neighborhood. It can be a kiosk, or maybe he decides, Mama, you are too idle, let me open a greengrocery for you so that you can sell some sukuma wikis, some tomatoes, and some greens, so that you can have that an extra income. But all these different business ventures that families and friends are venturing into, they are all hustles. Why do I say they are hustles? They are hustles because, one, they have to be available, they have to be there for that business to function. And with their absence, then it becomes not viable anymore. My name is Joseph Moravino, and I am a systems thinker. It doesn't mean that our parents were lazy. It doesn't mean that they didn't want a bright future or they didn't want the best for their kids. But they lacked something that is very, very vital. And even in our today's generation, if we are not very careful about it, we ourselves are going to turn to what our parents are today. Why do I say so? You might find that our parents would wake up very early, open their kiosk, open their greengrocery. They would go to their daily plumbing jobs. Maybe they are contracted to do a plumbing job. Like for the case of my grandfather, he used to be a very good plumber. He was very well known in the community. Anytime you had a job like a sink was blocked, a toilet wasn't flushing, they would approach him, give him that job, and then he would go out and do it and earn the 5,000, 2,000 shillings and all that. And at the same time, some other plumbers used to come in our homestead and bring maybe their pipes. They needed them to be threaded, threading, and then after that they are charged like a 35 bob per side, and both sides it becomes like a 75 bob. Now you try and imagine someone brings to you like 10 pipes or 15 pipes and you thread them. That's quite some good money, right? Well, not every person can see a business in an idea. Like for the case of the plumbing, it used to be a job that my grandfather used to do. Like for the case of fishmongering, my mom used to do it because it is something that she was capable of doing at that time. But they did not see how they could structure such businesses to become a system that even if in their absence, their children or maybe grandchildren, they could inherit, and it could have become a very good business venture. In this term, we call them assets. There's a difference between an effort income and an asset income. What is an effort income? An effort income, it's whereby you just have to wake up daily, go to the work that you keep on doing every day, or maybe open that kiosk, or maybe go to that shamba and farm. But because we don't have structure, then it requires you to be available on that area so that you can do what? You can earn a living through it. This land This land that we keep on tilling each and every time, it can be an asset, but only if you can be able to restructure it in a way that it becomes a system. How so? Make sure that this land is prepared by other people who are working. Like right now, whatever you are trying to work on, you are employed by someone, right? So you are working in someone else's system, of which for them, they don't have to be there physically, but you have to go there as part of his system's structure, the workforce. Of course, you can build your own, but it will take time. That's why hustle and system, they work in hand. And I remember in our previous episode, I told you that we will discuss on how money plays a role as a tool in creating wealth. It's not just money that becomes wealth. No, get this point very right. Money is not wealth. Money, it's a tool that is used to create wealth. How so? You working in that company, you are a workforce for that system. And money as a tool, it's used to pay you so that you can keep on making that system continue functioning, even in the absence of the owner. The same way, you can do your hustle. This is how you can structure your hustle. You can do your hustle because there is urgency of you to feed your kids, to feed yourself, to have bills here and there. Then you cannot run away from hustles. You do that hustle and make sure that you divide that income into portions. You pay your bills, you pay your school fees, medical, healthcare, and all that. But set aside a small amount of money that will go to a system. Like for instance, if it's a farm, you make sure that you set aside that 3,000 so that a tractor can come and till your land. And at the same time, you can set aside like 3,000 so that you can pay farmers, or I mean workers, who can come and weed your land. And if you keep that one as a consistent behavior, then it becomes a system, right? And that is just one part of that system. There are so many parts in a system that you have to build from the onset. Like let's say, for instance, I want to keep poultry in my farm. I buy chicken, I bring them over. Having the chicken alone, it's not a system. It's a start, or we can say it's part of the system. How can I turn this poultry farm into a system? That's where we come in. You need to understand that in poultry farm, there are phases before a chicken grows into an adult. You need to identify where you're going to get your feeds. And this person who's bringing you feeds, then it has to be someone who's reliable. Not someone when you need the feeds, it becomes a problem or you lack them. Then the system will dysfunction. And then after, you can now decide, okay, where can I be able to get chicks, reliable chicks? If you don't trust your local farmers, the people that you can buy around for, why don't you decide now, okay, why don't I do the breeding myself? But because you are starting, then you cannot have the chicks because you don't have grown hens. So what do you decide? Let me go and buy my parent stock, like 5 hens and then 1 cock. Here comes the most critical part when it comes to systems: patience and consistency. If you are patient enough to build that parent stock, then in the long run, you're going to have a system whereby you have your own hatchery. And at the same time, those hatcheries, they have the quality that you require, right? And some other people who are capable. The first phase of feeds, you can decide, okay, let me just till my shamba or my land, grow maize, grow sunflower, and make sure that I can process my own feeds. Now here you have controlled 2 aspects of that system. You've controlled the feeds, you've controlled the parent stock or the chicks that you're going to be breeding in that farm. And then you can now decide, okay, from this period, you can either decide, let me work for this farm in a way that I can be the source of human resource, because in the long run, you have to think the long run game, right? So you work as a human resource, And then later on, you can decide, okay, let me employ 1 or 2 workers who are going to be working for me. So that's now a system being created, whereby even if you are absent, your workers are going to be making sure that the poultry farm is functioning all right, your feeds are guaranteed, your chicks are guaranteed. Now the other phase, it's looking for market. Obviously, you need to be able to secure a market that is consistent at the same time. Not a market whereby after the chicks or maybe the hens are mature and the cocks, you are now looking for a market. You need to be sure that after they are mature, there's a consistent supply of market and demand, so that you don't stagnate in a way that you have a stock that is ready, but it cannot be sold. You know, now that is a functional system. I've just given you one example. Now let's say, for instance, in the case of our brothers and sisters who are working maybe in green groceries, they can as well turn that kiosk, they can turn that green grocery shop into a system if they so wish. And with that, it requires also the same format that I've given for the poultry farm. Now, all this has to be learned and taught in a way that you understand it, so that we can be able to avoid that embarrassment in future, whereby our kids ask us, where were you when other peoples were getting rich? What I'm trying to say is, do not quit your jobs. Do not quit your hustles. What I'm telling you is, structure your hustles so that you can have a system through them. Remember, hustles, it's how you start. A system or an asset, it's how you stay in the game. And if you feel like this episode has changed how you think, then subscribe to our channel. And this is Old Money, New Money Africa, where structure matures into a system. Till next time, adios. Cheers.